And straight over to you. All right. Good morning, everybody. We are starting 2 minutes late. That is my fault. I was saying to Maurizio that I've been doing so much sports betting that I don't actually know the price of Bitcoin. Yeah, yeah. Thank goodness that, like that there's a bunch of it in that DGen trend account for the war's on, the war's off, the ships are in, the
Yeah.
ships are out. I got this really cool I'll try and find it when the call starts, right? And it shows the data source as well, and it's a tracker of ships going in and out the Strait of Hormuz and
Ooh.
global oil supply and everything. Yeah, yeah, I'll post that in there. So my point is, I've really nothing to say because I've just been obsessed with ATP tennis manual grinding over in YFM. So I'm actually going to shut up, Maurizio, completely
But
and
that's good,
just
man. That's
just
why that's
just
why
hand
I
over to
haven't
you.
I haven't even opened that kind of worms because it could get exciting. You know what I mean? And you
Oh.
can track you can definitely track. You can lose track of everything because obviously other
Mhm.
opportunities arise, right? So yeah, I
Well,
haven't.
this is it. Can
Mm,
you remember the third Superman movie with Christopher Reeve and it had
man,
Richard Pryor in it?
now you're reveling your age. You know what I
Can
mean?
you
You
remember
shouldn't
that
be
film?
you shouldn't be doing that because now you're revealing your age. And no, I don't remember.
Oh, because there's this bit right towards the end where this woman gets melded to this machine and becomes one with the machine, and that's where I am with the AI, and that's why we have to stop. I want one of those things in my head now from Musk. Get it in there.
Oh
All
man,
right,
it's gonna
man.
get crazy. It's crazy to the point that it gets scary. You know what I mean? Like it's exciting, and then all of a sudden, it could get interesting. So anyhow, yeah,
Let's
let's
rock.
let's roll back to what the fucking markets are doing. Oh man, it's driving me nuts. But let's go through everything. So how you guys doing today? Hope you're doing okay. Right. All right. Let's have a look. Let me just share my screen. Let's start with. All right. It was an exciting week, obviously. I was sort of on the sidelines. I don't know you guys watch updates, right? A little bit of let me 1 second. Did I share the right screen?
Yeah, we can see the Velo.
Okay. Cool, 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 cool. All right. So yeah, very, very interesting week. It's just been kind of all over the place. I don't know if you guys watched my video on Friday. I was ready to pull the trigger in a few trades, but I start seeing a lot of volatility. And let me just start um, giving you my. I'm glad I didn't do it because obviously a lot of things retraced right over the weekend. You know what happens over the weekend? Over the weekend, you do get a lot of low liquidity. So I tend to avoid uh, placing positions. It's great for scalping, right? But then longer term, it's highly unlikely that you're gonna get really good positioning on weekends, right? Why? Who's trading on weekends? People like you, people like me, right? And there's no ETFs, markets are closed. There is a lot of fucking around on the weekends. So that's why on Fridays usually I'm a little bit hesitant to start getting positioned, but that doesn't mean that there are going to be opportunities over the weekend as well, right? So, but let me just give you a rundown of what happened last week and where were we and what I'm looking at this week and things like that. All right, so let's start with the weekly. Okay, so the weekly close hasn't happened yet, but let me just start from the weekly perspective. Okay, so top down. So we should start. Well, no, at the end of the month I start monthly, but then obviously we're still 15 days in, so I don't look at the month yet. We have all the levels to watch for, but what do you guys see on this weekly candle? Like, obviously, it's a different view. Like, that's the problem of watching the weekly candle on Friday. I don't do it. I usually watch. the weekly closes, and because obviously it could get really misleading in a way, right? Like if you look at this candle on Friday, it looked like it looked like was ready to go, right? I did mention about the possibilities of breaking, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, all right. So let's go through what you guys think. First of all, before I go into my weekly thing, what do you guys think about the market? Like, just give me your thoughts. Is this this is it? This is the time? Is this gonna go up? Is this gonna go down? Jim says unstable. Jason, you're short. Great. Okay. Craig, floating. Yeah. Down to 60-ish. 60-ish. Yeah, that's been my case for a while as well. Oh yeah. Trump manipulation. No shit. Definitely. I mean, yeah. That's the first thing that I mentioned last week. Obviously, last week we didn't get together, but on Tuesday or yeah, on Wednesday, when Trump came about saying that everything was fixed, it's one of those things that this market is now moving on headlines, essentially, right? And when the market moves on headlines, it's very hard to trade long term. Very, depends of you need to figure out if you're trading long term, short term, medium term, whatever it is, right? And you need to make that decision before you actually place your trade. Obviously, with this, we're trying to capitalize on longer term opportunities, right? There's a lot of opportunities short term, but you have to watch the market. You have to watch session by session. It gets really it's fun, but that's kind of what we might start doing it, right? Like, but you have to be very aware of that. You have to close things early. Okay. So yeah, I do agree with GP definitely on that note. And I say it's not Trump manipulation. I say it's market headlines driven news, and you get the same thing with any war or any macro event, things like that. So it could be seen. The problem with Trump is one of these presidents that we have never seen this before, right? Of it, and tweets everything, and obviously he has a lot of power in terms of what he says and what he's not. Obviously, Trump. You could see like back in the days. Was Elon Musk, right? Like you see Elon actually talks about crypto and things went nuts, and so it's think about it from headlines. It's not manipulation per se. It's just what the people reaction will be across whatever headlines is about. And the problem with this is that Trump will say anything, man, fucking it, man. It's so unpredictable, which is I think is part of his strategy to being a president. To be honest, if you really analyze the psychology of this guy, it's interesting in a way. But anyhow, yeah, it is. It is. He knows how to do media. That's one of his strengths, right? So obviously, any any frigging headline, any freaking tweet is going to affect the markets, right? In either direction. Which one it is, I have no idea, right? So that's where I was last week. Very online, like that's pretty much what everybody's waiting for, technically, right? Everybody's waiting for a war resolution, for oil resolution. So until then, I think is headline driven. So make sure that you have to watch the headlines, right? And it's not about the actual news; it's about the headlines, right? And two, a lot of the market makers take a lot of opportunity here, all right, to actually scalp or to actually liquidate people to either direction, right? So that's basically what I'm avoiding, right? And it's hard to gauge if that's the case or not because market could actually move quite rapidly, but that's based on the data that we were seeing last week. That was kind of the behavior that I was seeing, and now if we match all that stuff that I just said, right? In terms of what that looks in the charts. So first of all, weekly speaking is fully retraced, right? This level has been a freaking level, huge freaking level, 71,300. I've been talking about this level for a while, right? And again, this week we're unable to break it, right? So what that means, so was I if you guys been here for a while, what I always try to think about is what does that mean, right? In terms of buyers as sellers. In my view, or it means that is there's no buyers here. There are more sellers than buyers, right? So so essentially, right, on Friday I was talking about the pressure cooker sort of deal, right? And let me tell you what I was watching on Friday and why I decided not to take any freaking trades. And not taking trades is taking a trade in a way, but it gets really is one of those things, right? So that's the first thing. That's the first sort of reaction that I'm seeing here. But let's bring it down to the daily, right? Because the daily is gonna give you the moves, right, every single day, right? So if you start top down, you know what to expect. So you see the structure. It looks much different when you actually do weekly. So what I was hoping, right, in terms of being bullish, right, is that we basically close above that 71,300 level. That will give you that give you a good indication that we have buyers there, right? Which at this moment we don't, right? So now we bring it down to daily, right? And daily, it looked pretty good, man. It looked pretty freaking good. But okay, we start adding stuff in. One, we have headline news. Two, we have geopolitical stuff unresolved, right? Because one day was they had good talks, and the other day we didn't, so that's kind of a red flag for me. And yes, we could actually miss the move, but you can always get on pullbacks, right? There's always going to be pullbacks. They're going to be sometimes there's not going to be any pullbacks, right? But usually there's like 70%, so having like the emotional sort of strength and not to go into those is a tough one, because if you suffer from FOMO like I used to, or like I do sometimes, right? Like then it's very hard to make that decision, right? So that was sort of the reaction Friday. So why let's recap on Friday movements, right? So Friday, like this move here, right? That was Friday. When was Friday? Friday, that was Monday. That was on the 11th. All right, so on the 11th, give or take. Okay. So this is what I was watching on the 11th. And you can go back in the video on Friday and see what I mean. I was seeing a lot of CBD volume coming through. What CBD coming through? A lot of institutions, the spot buyers. You don't know if this are institutions or spot buyers or whales. You have no idea. The only thing that you can see is CBD. What that means is the delta between and the spot volume, right? We went through this a lot of times. Massive amount of influx. So it looked like he wanted to break to the upside. The only problem that I saw on Friday is that with this amount of buying, the market wasn't moving much towards the upside. Okay. Obviously, this is kind of be mindful that obviously everything that we do that we analyze in terms of CBD versus open interest and all that sort of stuff is not set rules, right? I just wanted to understand that this is a discretionary analysis in a way, right? But you have to understand how these two are put together. CBD is the buyers that actually come through, right? CBD volume, and open interest is basically the leverage market, right? All the perps, all that sort of stuff, all the like And a lot of the institutions do not play this game. This is our game. This is the institution's game, right? In a way. So, but there is a lot of institutions. Usually what they do is they buy a spot, they short this, and they get the funding rate. That's a delta neutral type of trade. But what I'm seeing here is that a lot of CD coming through and the market wasn't exploding, wasn't able to actually break out. What that tells me is that there's a lot of shorts balancing the market. So think about it from the perspective that a lot of people buy. Why the market doesn't move up? You know what I mean? Like why we don't have that breakout is because more than likely, and this is not confirmed. There are ways to figure this out, but you need a lot of quant power to get that done, and a lot of analyzing in the books and shit like that. But then, from the perspective, there is a lot of shorts balancing that out, like not allowing the market moving up, right? So one of those is going to give up at some point. That was my point on Friday. I didn't know which one it was. I was leaning towards the upside, and I was wrong. I'm glad didn't go into any trades, right? Because this is kind of weird. What you want to see when a lot of CVD volume comes through, you want to see breakouts. You want to see this type of movement, right? And I wasn't seeing that. And on top of that, you get headlines. On top of that, you get a lot of like the oil managed market, S&P 500 and VIX actually changing volatility quite quickly. So that didn't give me any confidence, right? So I just want to give you my outlook of where we're at. But it's important to actually mention what happened on Friday, because that was in the cards, that we had a 40% of this happening, and it did. All right, cool. So now where we at, right? So based on that, I want to see where the buyers are at the moment. And it looks like this level is interesting, right? The 70,000 range, it looks like we do have buyers at that level, right? Now, are you guys ready? Like, how do you feel to start buying at 70,667? Like, how do you guys feel? Just give me your rundown. How do you guys feel of buying right now? Like fully, I say this is the bottom or whatever. Steve, why not? And just give me a quick, just why don't you want to buy at this level? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. All right, let you move on. So it feels weird, right? It feels weird. However, yeah, okay. Hold 70,000 for some time. All right, let me tell you where I'm at. So this is kind of the first pullback from the CVD structure perspective, right? So I kind of like it in a way. Let me tell you what I'm saying. However, today is Monday, okay? This is Asian session, so liquidity is low. Could move to either direction, but the real test will be on New Year in the New Year session, and also the real test is what happened with the freaking Strait of and Iran and all that crap, right? Because obviously Trump this morning, not this morning, like yeah, I was watching this. This is still talks, still shit, still things all over the place. So it hasn't been resolved. So a lot of people are just waiting to markets are waiting for a resolution to either direction, right? If the and resolution, what it means is the war is full on, so at least they know what to do, or resolution on the conflict, right? Which I don't think he will have. Well, I'm just thinking, will that happen? We don't know. But in terms of where I'm watching, this level seems interesting. Why? Because this is like, don't look at the price, look at the CVD structure, right? And CVDs, it looks like there are buyers at that level. How big buyers? I don't know. Is that buyers, taking profits? That could be, right? So I'll be watching this level very, 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 very closely. If we start losing the 70 level, right? Let's start talking about levels. So that level is here, right? Then I think there is a highly likelihood that we're going to clear, like this candle here, that the Tuesday was what do you call, when Trump actually decided, put the news in that everything was going to be solved and shit like that. So there's a lot of buyers here, to be clear, right? And this is not spot buyers. This is more than likely leverage traders, right? So that's the next level that I'll be watching closely. Why? Look at this. All right. That was then the 7th of April. Yeah, give or take right here, right? And right here is when all the shorts actually got triggered, right? Like all the shorts actually got liquidated. So around the 67, that could be an interesting short to play, right? Would I play it? Not really, because I'll be watching this market pretty much unfolding. But that kind of the one that makes sense, the next level, 67, give it or take, right? Then we'll see how much buyers are at that level, right? But if we start unwinding, more than likely we could see bang, this, stop losses getting hit. You can actually see stop losses getting hit now and liquidations on this level here, people that actually went long heavily. And, that gives me an indication that you start seeing a lot of these small liquidations here. So it is attractive for market makers to actually push the market all the way down to 67, at least to liquidate all these longs, right? So that's the behavior that we are at the moment, right? If you do want to play that range, I think that could be an interesting one, right? But for the time being, it's very unclear, right, from any direction. And obviously today's Monday as well. And so that's kind of my short bias, right? Like if I want to go short, that's what I want to see, and it looks like it's heading that way, right? Now let's go my long bias, right? What it could happen if we actually bounce from here, or where are we going to bounce from? Like what are the likely levels that we want to bounce from? The only thing that I do like about the markets at the moment is IBIT, right? IBIT, which is ETF inflows in a way, right? Like that's a way to actually measure it. It's not dumping, right? They're not selling, which is a good thing. Okay, so as long IBIT, so this is the type of setups that will be very juicy to actually get on leverage if we get them. Imagine, I mean, hypothesis number one, you get IBIT not dumping, not selling. That means that ETFs are holding its ground, but market moves down, right? Market moves down perhaps towards the 67 range, and you do get liquidations here. What does it mean? CVD, the CVD, think about it from the institutional perspective, they don't react as quickly as leverage traders, right? Because they're not leverage, right? And if I see that kind of behavior, right, liquidations on the 67 level, CVD coming through, holding, and IBIT in a way holding as well, I think that could be an excellent long. That's why I don't want to short. You know what I mean? Like that's basically why I don't want to short, right? So yeah, that just to give you my overall read of what happened last week and what's happening now. What's going to happen, don't know, but that's kind of my first play, right? So if we have a look at Ethereum, right, everything is behaving exactly the same, right? That was a trade that I was going to take on Ethereum. It could still play out, right? And I want to see front running, but then everything lies from this level of Tuesday. What happened on the Tuesday of after Easter, right? And this is the after Easter liquidity. So it does make sense, right? If we do see that levels being sort of like broken and then reclaimed, that could be really good. Let me just change this color so I don't get confused in terms of levels. Let's do this. Yeah. Right. You can actually set some alerts if you don't want to watch the market, which is basically what I do. Send. By the way, do you guys are you hearing me okay? Yes.
Yes, all good, man.
All good. Okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Still looks good. I'm still bullish. I'm cautiously bullish because even though structurally speaking, I'm sort of in two minds at the moment. Let me just turn this off and ask you guys something. Like, let's forget about the levels. Let's forget about everything. Structurally speaking, and we have talked about structure here a little bit. Do you guys see a bullish pattern or a bearish pattern, or do you see something else? So Jim says bearish. Range, bearish, bearish, bearish. Okay. Tide. Okay. So I'm agree with Jim and Steve. Yeah, I do see a range playing out, right? So you got the range. You can probably see that the range is right here on the 70, 72, give or take. And it's hard to say about, like, in terms of a structure bearish or bullish, it's very hard to say if it is lower lows, lower highs, higher lows, higher highs, right? Uh, Whenever I have a lot of issues that knowing that more than likely we're in range, right? More than likely. So yeah, exactly, Jim. So yeah, so that's basically something that I tend to, if it's hard for me to dictate higher lows, higher highs, then is we're in range. So this range is consolidation level. The problem is what is the bottom of the range, right? That's the main issue. We could say if we close at this level, right, we can see that that could be the top of the range, perhaps. But the problem now lies is where the bottom looks like. We don't know yet because the first, well, we have ideas, and our range it will be 65. That makes sense. And then 60 will be the other range, right? So those are the two kind of ranges. But when you start seeing that the range sort of starts sort of shrinking, then I will say that we do have more uh, upside than downside when you start shrinking, right? Because it's kind of sellers stop selling, you have consolidation, and consolidation, what that means in layman terms is that people, start buying spot slowly, a lot of the leverage traders are getting wiped out, up, down, up, down, up, down. The problem is for how long this range is going to play out, that's kind of the issue here. And we don't know, right? So, and obviously because we are in this geopolitical thing, right? So we just have to be mindful in terms of what's going on. And on the good thing, something to highlight from what happened last week is at any sort of um how do I call at any sort of tweet. We are one tweet away of breaking. Why? On any tweet, on any headline of positive news, people are willing to buy straight up, bang, right? That's kind of something that is you can actually you saw it last week, right? So I'll be very looking forward to buy if we do get positive headlines in a way, right? So yeah, that's basically my take, guys. Unfortunately, that's where I'm at. That's why I'm not taking any trades, because they very like, or if you do play at a very very small sort of time frame, and it's very hard to sort of gauge now. So something that I was going to show you today is my oil versus Bitcoin. This is something that we've been watching for a while, and I want you to please watch this. And this is kind of something that I'm watching slowly, because we haven't topped on in oil yet. All right. In this is kind of the driver of all markets at the moment. This is what everybody's watching, macro. And I'm not saying crypto, I'm saying macro. And this is a huge event to unfold, right? If we and if you look at this structurally, we're still on a bullish pattern, right? On a daily bullish pattern. We kind of likely, like if we break the 120, I think risk assets are going to get hurt, right? So a short could be a really good option, right? But we are on that undecisive moment yet. Why? And we have to understand how this is moving is because we are in a geopolitical conflict. So don't always say, oh, this is bullish, this is higher lows. Why this is fucking moving, right? Mark, yes, we'll go through the VIX again, and exactly same old stuff, man. So something that I'm watching closely is unfolding of this, right? And you can actually see a type of pattern that happened before. This is the one that I was showing you before, right? So you get a top, right? But you start seeing that things are getting stable again with oil. It takes a little bit of time usually to price that in, right? And then that's when Bitcoin just bang. And what I mean Bitcoin is risk assets. And there's different ways to measure the risk assets. One is Bitcoin, one is Russell, the US 100 as well, maybe. That could be a risk assets index. So yeah, this is just to say that I'm not ready yet to start just blindly go and say, fuck, let's buy the shit out of everything, right? And hope for the best. So that's kind of where I'm at. Unfortunately. Can you play that short? Yes. If you do want to play that short, please make sure how to do leverage and things like that. But that short looks pretty attractive. Why I'm not playing it, I already gave you my reasons. Now, let's have a look at the VIX. There you go. VIX looks very good, right? Like we have this gap down, and what VIX is the volatility of this S&P 500. And the S&P 500 is the macro economy in a way, right? So, but we just have a huge gap, right? Is this gap are going to be filled, or when New Year session, this is going to keep coming down, right? And this is just a de-risk event for traders. Think about it from the perspective, people that weren't able to actually get out here, right? Now that the market moved towards the upside, they might look to de-risk some assets, especially if the conflicts haven't been sort of resolved. So that's kind of my take, right? So far, I could be completely wrong, and this could actually move. That's awesome. And if that happens, then I'm going to get in pullbacks. You know what I mean? So that's kind of just to make yeah, I'm going to give up a lot of profits or entries, but at least it's going to be a little bit with more vision, right? Because when you get into a pullback, you can actually get more size. You can actually get a little bit more leverage, and you can actually make up for that sort of misprice in a way, right? But that's kind of where I'm at, guys. So and good. So what I'm watching, right? What are the outs that I'm watching? Still the same old freaking ones that I've been talking about the whole week. But I want to highlight something interesting. We just took some profits on GST. So let me just bring up. So GST has been playing out, man. Finally, ooh, that's a good one. At least some profits on this type of markets. We run out 100%, right? But we actually got like an AR. Yeah, 8R. We got out this morning around 82, give or take. We took some profits here. We took some profits here. I'm pretty much only have like 10, 20% of this position in. moving stop loss. I'm not gonna touch it if this keeps moving up. The interesting thing is, I don't know if you guys took this trade. We took this trade probably in January, so it took a while to play it out, but it finally moved, right? So happy for this one to cash out. What I want you to see, and things that I've been noticing quite a bit, is the behavior. GSD is sort of a liquidity aspect of TRX, right? And I'm noticing quite often, and that when TRX actually starts going up, it means that Bitcoin, they sort of work on an inverse proportion, right? Why? I don't know. I have so many theories, but I'm not gonna theorize on that. Let me put one thing here. I'll say BTC. So this is, it's been a few things that let me just put it here. When we do have a lot of divergency between TRX, there is a likelihood that Bitcoin, like if TRX starts breaking, I think Bitcoin is gonna go down, right? I have a theory behind it, but this is something that I'm seeing for the past year. So there's a few flags that I'm watching right now in terms of is this going to play out, or is this kind of the bottom, right? So that's one of them. The other one that I'm watching closely is the behavior of the big runners, right? So let me just show you something. Where is it here? Hold on. I just stopped the sharing. Just give me 1 second. Let me reshare back again. Where's my Zoom? There you go. All right. Okay. All right. So where are we? Okay. So if we analyzed the behavior of the runners, what are the runners? Hype, Tau, Renda. Those were the runners, right? The perhaps Mon, perhaps Sec, right? We could perhaps see if the market is going to hold up or not. That was a trade that I was thinking take on Hype on Friday, so I didn't take this one. So yeah, we didn't take a bunch of stuff on board, fortunately or unfortunately, but that's kind of where were we? So why those ones, and why I want you to pay attention to what's going on with those is because that's where the liquidity was heading from a while back. So obviously from February, you see an upside of Hype. From Tau, we took Tau, right? We took Tau here, and Tau, massive amount of. We're still on this one, by the way. So I was going to add more. Glad I didn't, but you could. I saw this on Friday and say, okay, the first thing that you might need to think about is risk assets. When you see a lot of people selling on the runners, that means that that's kind of shady in a way, right? That means like people think that then like this is not going to have any continuation, right? So that was my gauge to not get into anything on Friday. Tau dumping, which is the strongest thing that it's been for a while. So that means people are taking profit heavily, right? So same thing with Hype, but Hype is holding pretty well. So I'm still 50-50 there. Mon is one that I'm watching closely, right? So Monad it's been very interesting. It's holding quite a bit. So I'm just going to see probably towards the midweek where we are in here. SEC actually still holding pretty good. So from that perspective, you know what I mean, 2 or 3 out of the strongest assets are still holding. So I'm still cautiously bullish from that perspective. But if we start seeing dumps here, expect a lot of selling, you know what I mean, from that perspective. So that's kind of where I'm at, guys. Don't know if you guys have any questions, but yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it. Are you there, Ian?
Yeah, I couldn't get to that button quick enough.
Fair enough. That's all right. Yeah. So market is getting interesting, right? So, but I'm still not there but yeah, these are my favorites. Definitely not Uni anymore. Monad definitely at the SEC. Those are the biggest, the biggest, the ones that actually gained the most last week. But I knew yeah, completely forgot. I knew Dash as well. I'm interested in Dash. Dash is another privacy coin. I did talk about it on Friday, but over the weekend, a few new narratives is kind of emerging, and one is Rave. Look at this thing, man. That was over the weekend, right? Very hard to trade this thing, man. But uh, this new narrative is the Rave is audio, right? Infrastructure, audio and like music and things like that. There is a few other ones, LimeWire and audio as well. So I'll be watching, that narrative closely. Is this could be just a market make it up in the charity, or this could be a real thing. So I'm watching this. This happened. This happened yesterday, man. Like it's still happening, right? So would I short this? Not really. It's too strong. And if it's a real thing, maybe this one will go a little bit higher than that. But besides that, SEC. What is SEC? SEC is a privacy coin. It's essentially. I don't know if you know much about the privacy sector and what privacy means in terms of crypto, that you cannot actually be tracked on your transactions, stuff like that. So that's kind of in the whole thing. I think probably
Yeah,
next week, if you guys want, I can give you a rundown on how the protocol works in terms of SEC.
it could be fun. That could be fun. So just to wrap it up then, there is no balls tingling happening right now. It's a relatively balls tingling free week. So the best thing to do is hands off the wheel and
Yeah,
look at any other projects that you've got. But remember, the best opportunities come when everybody's bored out of their mind.
yeah, exactly.
It's the ones that can handle this when yeah, yeah.
Marlon,
Yeah.
mate, I think you'll be hearing Scott too much, man. Like
Yeah.
this is now Scott talking through your voice, mate.
Nice. All right
Uh,
then. See you next week, everybody. See you in the
all right,
group.
guys.
Ta-da.
Have a good day.